From across the United States to across the globe, 2009 was a year of severe weather. World leaders attempting to tackle climate change, a pandemic threatening people in every corner of our planet, and images and issues that will forever remain part of our consciousness.
Israel's devastating land, sea, and air assault on Hamas and the Gazan population continues into the 13th day as the UN halts aid deliveries, citing Israeli attacks on its staff and installations. The 3-week military attack left some 1,300 Palestinians killed, and nearly 900 of them were civilians, including children. The UK officially went into recession after figures showed the sharpest decline in economic output for 30 years. Britain's economy contracted by 1.5% in the final 3 months of 2008. Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe swore in his longtime rival Morgan Tsvangirai as prime minister, ushering in a unity government in an extraordinary concession after nearly 3 decades of virtually unchallenged rule. The following month, Tsvangirai's wife was killed in a car crash. The prime minister and his wife were married for 31 years. They have 6 children. 2 shooting rampages have left dozens dead. The first in a school in Germany after a former student opened fire on students and teachers. The second in an Alabama town after a gunman opened fire on his family. A UN investigation is underway on whether or not Israeli soldiers used an 11-year-old Palestinian boy as a human shield during the war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. More than 100 people are dead after a powerful earthquake rocked central Italy. Tens of thousands of people are homeless after the early morning quake struck. Rescuers are still picking through the rubble in search of survivors trapped by fallen buildings. In a surprise turn of events after officials feared negotiators were reaching an impasse, U.S. Captain Richard Phillips is freed from his pirate captors off the coast of Somalia. Captain Richard Phillips and his 19-man crew from the Maersk, Alabama, returned home amidst the hostage crisis. Air France Flight 447 headed from Rio de Janeiro to Paris with 228 passengers on board disappears over the Atlantic. The plane disappeared overnight, and officials said the plane sent an automatic signal indicating electrical problems before it disappeared. Rescue workers found 2 bodies and a briefcase as the search continued for the black box with answers as to what happened that day. There were no survivors. President Barack Obama called for a new beginning between the United States and the Muslim world. In a long-awaited speech at Cairo University, the president declared, "It's time to focus on the interests we share rather than our differences." Arabs and Muslims were patiently waiting for the president's visit as he tried to repair relations between the U.S. and the Muslim world. Presidential elections in Iran turned deadly and controversial. The 2 main candidates claimed victory after voting hours were extended when huge numbers of people turned out to cast their ballots. Protests turned deadly, and amateur video of 27-year-old Iranian music student Nida Agha Sultan was seen as she bled to death on the street during election protests. Protests continue today as Iran tries to deal with its issues. After 41 years, the World Health Organization officially declared the swine flu as a pandemic. The move came as infections climbed in the United States, Europe, Australia, South America, and elsewhere. World leaders gathered in Germany as thousands of Berliners marked 20 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall. UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown, US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and German Chancellor Angela Merkel were among those who addressed the huge crowds. An attacker hurled a statuette at Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, striking the leader in the face at the end of a rally in Milan, leaving the stunned 73-year-old media mogul with a bloodied mouth. The Italian Prime Minister needed weeks of treatment for the physical injuries and mental trauma after his nose was broken and 2 teeth had been fractured.